AskReddit by Lilix. What's a secret the food industry don't want you to know? Chef here. It's salt and fat. If you have a question about anything, it's salt and fat. Seriously, you will eat as much sodium and fat in fine dining as if you went to McDonald's. It's just going to be better fat and I guess kinda different salt. Olive Garden makes all their necessary pastas for the whole day from 8 to 10 AM every morning. Partially cooked. So when an order comes through, they grab a serving of the needed pasta style and flash cook them in hot water. Also, it's just the brand, Barilla. As a current Olive Garden employee, I can confirm this is true. Beekeeper checking, and there is no such thing as organic honey. I do not treat my bees with chemicals, but I have no idea where they get their nectar. A bee can fly up to 3 miles from a hive to get nectar. It is virtually impossible to guarantee they have not gotten nectar from a chemically treated source. The empty soda can in the Walmart parking lot. My bees found the syrup fountain in a coffee stand. Made for some interesting honey. Unless it's a health conscious food joint you're eating at, the food we serve is designed for maximum taste. It's either dense with fat and sugar, or fat and salt. For example, those mashed potatoes you like. Made with cream, butter, and salt. The quiche made on cream, not milk. etc. etc. This is such an important fact that few people consciously keep in mind. The amount of butter or cream that every homemade recipe tells you to do, well, increase it 2 or 3 times and it would taste like that restaurant you recently visited and was inspired to try the recipe. Dragon fruit isn't an exotic Asian fruit. It's a cactus fruit, and as such are native to the Americas and can even be grown in the US. This is the first thing in this thread to blow my mind. I had no idea. Wikipedia says they grow even as indoor plants, so I want one now. A lot of the processed cheese and cream cheese is all the same recipe, we just switch the labels and packaging for the different brands we run. Source: I work in a cheese factory in a company that services 75% of America's domestic market. Well, I work at Domino's, and we are kept afloat by the people who don't coupon and pay full menu price. You people are the unsung heroes of labor. Yep, 100% the people who order at full price, and or those who tip their driver, subsidize the ones who do not. Their profits would collapse and labor costs would skyrocket overnight if even the majority of folks used coupons. When I worked at a mass production bakery, the chocolate for the chocolate covered donuts came in giant frozen blocks of 4x4 pieces and contained no actual chocolate whatsoever. When unfrozen, it was like some sort of nasty smelling paraffin wax that I would break up with a hammer and place into a melter that would then pour over the donuts. Similarly, I've worked in a neighborhood bakery and a lot of stuff came ready-made in huge buckets. I remember some customers buying pie and talking about being as good as a homemade pie, and all I could think was that absolutely no one at the bakery had ever peeled an apple at work. The reason orange juice tastes consistently the same year-round, even though it's a crop harvested once a year, is because citrus oils and citrus flavor are added back to different batches and blended all together. Similar to how whiskey is blended from multiple barrels to make it consistent. The difference is that even though extra stuff is added back into the OJ, it doesn't need to be labeled because the flavors contain all ingredients from oranges, FDNF from the named fruit, so the FDA doesn't mandate labeling additional ingredients. I probably have this wrong, but I heard due to the fast spoilage rate of OJ they suck all the oxygen out of it, which makes it stable and flavorless, then they add back in the oils for flavor to package it. The label saying 100% orange juice may be technically true, but Pringles and baked Lay's similar, are made of rehydrated and compressed rejected excess parts of potatoes that go into regular chips. I learned that from my dietitian at work and thought that was odd. I still like them over regular chips. TBH, I appreciate the sustainability of using the whole potato, and it's not like they could be worse for you than regular chips. Sounds like basically dried mashed potato crisps. The 11 herbs and spices secret recipe. Deleted. The amount of sugar that goes into Costco bakery products is absurd, especially the apple pie. That being said, Costco does not fuck around when it comes to food safety. Every area that is responsible for producing food is most likely cleaner than a white room for producing computer parts. There are virtually zero roaches. We found one in the bakery once and shut it down until the exterminator did his thing that very night. Someone returned a package of dinner rolls because their child had bit into one and a sharp piece of metal was in it. Within less than 2 minutes every manager in the building was doing an investigation that led all the way up to the regional manager and his boss for several hours and determined that it had come off of a piece of machinery before it reached our location. We throw away rotisserie chickens if they have left, even for a few minutes, the shelf and some. I was a young lad working at Church's Fried Chicken during the summer, many years ago. The owner refused to throw out chicken that had already gone bad, to the point where you'd gag if you smell them. Apparently if you batter them bad boys up and deep fry them, the rancid smell goes away. His customers never knew they were eating spoiled chicken. Worked at Applebee's and someone grilled off a batch of chicken that was so obviously spoiled as soon as I cut it I had to walk away. First manager said it was fine, the other gagged. We, 20-year-old alcoholic drug enthusiasts, made the decision for the man, threw it out and I quit soon after. Our restaurants. Many of the cooks making your food are high and or drunk. So, just like cooking at home. The reason restaurant food tastes better than what you make at home is probably because it was drowned in butter or oil. Also MSG is in nearly everything. Totally safe and delicious. And it definitely isn't what is giving you a migraine. The fact you ate 4,000 calories and 3 times your daily salt intake is probably what gave you the headache. Anthony Bourdain has a great line in Kitchen Confidential. The reason restaurant food tastes better is because we cook it like we hate you. And chances are if we ever met you, we would add that. At least up until the pandemic hit, there is a 100% chance that you've eaten at a restaurant where 1 or 2 of the people directly handling your food were legitimately sick enough that they should have stayed home. But they had to come into work anyway because they couldn't get their shift covered and they can't get a doctor's note without insurance or the money for a copay. It's still bad post-pandemic. People still need money to survive and still show up sick. I'm a trucker who hauls mostly refrigerated freight. I pick up at a lot of slaughterhouses. You really don't want to know what those places are like, let alone the conditions at feedlots or cafes. I work in vaccine manufacturing. I've had to visit slaughterhouses before, or, the more fancy professional term, abattoir, and it was awful. The scientific industry sources serum from slaughterhouses for various cell culture buffers. Do you live in the rural US? Congrats, 90% of the menu at every restaurant in your city is provided in various forms of pre-made from us foods. This is especially true for your small local family business restaurants. Edit, adding Cisco, Sigma, McLean, PFG, Labatt, MBM, and affiliated foods so that people stop filling my inbox. The point I was trying to make is that the authentic food is often factory made. That 10% number I provided is wiggle room for menu specialties. But for dessert and appetizers, don't have high expectations. I work at a hospital. People joke about hospital cafeteria food. Then they turn around and buy the same item, both provided by one of the companies above, that they scoffed at from a local restaurant for 3-4 times the price. Unless you are eating super local, that nondescript Mexican restaurant that may or may not pass inspection, or super high end, you are likely eating US Foods or Cisco. And, even the high end uses them more than you think. King crab and Maine lobster prices at restaurants pay are cheaper than they have been since even before the pandemic, yet we still charge more than ever before. That's not unique to the shellfish industry only, unfortunately. The inside of ice machines are covered in mold and less cleaned regularly. In the many different restaurants I worked in, exactly one cleaned the inside of their ice machine on a regular basis. Deleted. Dextrose, fructose, galactose, glucose, lactose, maltose, sucrose, BIOHM, gutquas, cane juice, crystals, corn syrup, solids, crystalline fructose, dextrin, diastatic malt, ethyl maltyl, Florida crystals, glucose syrup, solids, maltodextrin, sucanate, agave, nectar syrup, barley malt, blackstrap, molasses, brown rice syrup, caramel, carob syrup, corn syrup, evaporated cane juice, fruit juice concentrate, golden syrup, high fructose corn syrup, HFCS, honey malt syrup, maple syrup, molasses, rice syrup, refiner's syrup, sorghum syrup, treacle. Shrimps is bugs. Lobster is fucking huge bugs. Five Guys, not really a secret, but everything was fresh as could be. We did not have a freezer at all, only the fridge. Every morning the burgers were rolled into bowls and weighed to make sure all were the same. Bread made fresh from local factories. Potatoes straight from Idaho or Washington. Freshly cut and washed 3 times to remove the starch before being cooked. All veggies were labeled by date for freshness. Honestly, probably one of the cleanest places I've worked at. Also at the register, every single person would ask why it was so expensive but proceeded to buy it anyway. As if I could change the price for them. I felt this way after working at a Cracker Barrel a decade ago. The location was third in the country for profit margin and close to an airport, so I think it was just one of the best. If their system is followed the way it's laid out, everything is made daily, and it wasn't a bad job experience. They are making bank windfall record profits right now under the guise of inflation and supply issues. https://www.thegguardian.com/business/2023/JUL/06/world-s-722-biggest-companies-making-1TN-in-profits. The US Gov tracks both retail and wholesale prices. They should be naming and shaming those that are gouging. Subway, if it's 12 inches or 11 inches, you're getting the same amount of bread. Sometimes we're just too lazy to stretch the bread. They got sued because their footlongs weren't a foot long. They argued that footlong was just the name of the sandwich and wasn't meant to describe the length of the sandwich. Somehow, they won.